So I'll search for Word, and it should open up Microsoft Word for me. So we're approaching this as if we're using it for the first time, because last time we ran through a lot of Excel stuff. So from what we've learned from PowerPoint, you know, this view, or this particular view is called the backstage view, right? So on the backstage view, you've got things like templates you can use. If you want to walk through it all by yourself, like what we did for PowerPoint, you can download that document and walk through it, right? If you want to, you have several templates that you can make use of. If you want more templates, you just click on more templates on there, and it will give you access to more templates. So if you have, in my case, I've got shared with me selected. If you worked on some recent documents, it will appear under recent here. If, let's say, we use, I use ICT a lot as a document I want to work on again, or something like, if, let's say, I want to select this include, and I think I'll come back to it again and again, which is a document I'll be using frequently. I can just pin it to the top. So whenever I work on a new document, it won't replace this recent document, but that's not what I want to do. So I want to remove that pin, but now I want to pin ICT to the top. So that means that the others can get pushed down by new documents I work on, but the ICT will just keep its position for me. So if I go into the pinned documents, so these are documents that I can use because I've already pinned them. So it gives me quick access to them. Again, if someone has shared a document with me on OneDrive, for example, or using SharePoint, or the Word documents that have been shared with me appear on this side for me as well. So I'll go back to the recent, and we can, before even we do that, we can just open the ICT document. That's the document I worked with in the last session on Monday. You have yours as well saved somewhere, because we did save it on your computer, unless maybe you use a different machine and did not email to yourself. Otherwise, it's no worries. You can still update the content as they need be. On the left-hand side, you can see I'm logged in because I downloaded using the license one, and afterwards I log in as well. But you've got a home button that takes you to this particular view, or you can click a new button to get into new documents, and the new documents will give you access to things like templates and other things that you can use. So from the new documents, let's say, if we want to work with certain templates, we've got some templates that you have access to, things like menu, catalog, and other things like family updates, all those kind of stuff. So let's say we search for resume. So if you search for resume, you can have template resumes that you can use. And to search, I just click in the search space on the top right corner. So we've got some template resumes that we can use. You know, we've got things like photo resumes and things you can select off, which you can, of course, double click and it will open and it will serve as a template for you to edit. So that's just to show you some templates that you have access to. I will pause here to make sure that at least you've gone through up to this point and kind of understand where things are going. So I'll just pause the record. So again, if I click the recent, it will show me all recent documents I've been working on. But again, you can get that from the home button as well. The same way, if you click on the shared, it will show all the documents that have been shared to me with me. Sort of a quick access button. Or you can click open to open documents either from the cloud or from an existing document, right? You can see that I've got 3 OneDrive accounts, some of them not really connected at the moment because I need to re-sign in for them to work. Otherwise, I can go to other OneDrive accounts to make it work, or I can pick a file from my computer and in this case, navigate around to get that file to work with. But at the moment, I don't want to open any file, so I just click cancel, and I'll go back to the home button. Then we just click new document. Double click new document to open it. Let me know when you are ready to continue. Just say ready to continue.
Right.
Continue. So one way, if I just type something in this document really quickly, I'm just typing some random things, right? One way of having a new document open whilst you're working on a Word document or you've got Word open is just to press Control-N or Command-N, and that will open a new document for you to work on. So the keyboard shortcut for that one is Control-N or Command-N. And of course, there are various options. You can just select File, New Document, and that will also create a new document for you. Because I have document 1, document 2, and document 3 open, you notice each time I open a new document, it sort of gives it a default name, document 1, document 2, document 3. Normally, this shows you or gives you a sign that the document has not been saved yet. So to save the file, you go back to File, and you can click Save As or Save, or you just press Control-S. The save is to update and work that you've already saved. So if I've already saved it in a particular name, then I click the save. It will just update the same file with the same name, the same file name, just update the content. The save as, if you want to give it a different name or you want to save it as a different extension, you use the save as. But first time you save your document, the save and the save as will serve the same purpose because we've not saved the file yet. So if I click save, for example, for this document, I can search through where I want to save it. So I can save it to the desktop or documents or anywhere that I want to save it to. I think I've created a folder which I call ICT files. So I will save it in there. If you want to create a new folder, of course, you click new folder, or sometimes if you're using Word, you can right click in there and then select new folder. So I'm just going to create a new folder and I'll call it Wednesday ICT. And I can give it any name in class. So the docx is the default file extension, but if you want to save it into different extension files, you do have several options such as PDF or rich text files or the old plain text. So if you don't want to keep any formatting on those kind of things, you can go for plain text, or you can just use earlier versions. So in this case, we would just want to save it as a docx file. Let me know when you're on the same page, if you're on the same page or ready to continue. Great, that's brilliant. So we noticed one thing when we have a new document opened. You see my mouse cursor, it's like they call it the iPen. You see with the cursor, as I move it around, if I move it to the far left, you see there is the same thing, symbol that looks like they align to the left appear on that side. And as I move it to the center, it changes to that center alignment symbol there. As I move it to the far right, it changes to that as well. What that simply means is that if I click anywhere in that document whilst it's on the left align, whatever I type will go to the left align. Whatever I type at this point will be centrally aligned. Whatever I type at that point will be right aligned. So I just want to go a bit further down, and I just want to click in anywhere in that document just to show the concept. So if I double click there and I type, this is an interesting feature. Just making it up really. So if I type this is an interesting feature, and then I go somewhere else in the document and I click, double click whilst it is showing the right align, it says maybe double click there. Test is being right aligned. And I can go somewhere else, left align, and I can go somewhere else for the right align. Interestingly, if you press enter, you notice that the same thing comes out. It goes still right aligned. So it's kind of a quick way of editing documents by just simply clicking around and changing what the test says and then typing in that. Let me know if you've tested at right your end and it's working for you and you're happy to continue. Sorry, I'll resume the recording. We can find a shortcut to find where the file is. To do so, I want to go back to the Backstage view, right? If I go to file and I simply click, let's say new, it just pop up the new document for me. It doesn't really take me to the Backstage view. Again, if I go to Word, it doesn't give me any option that gives me the Backstage view, which is the view we started with. So I want to go to Open From Template. Then it opens the Backstage view again for me that I can make use of. So from there, I can go to recent, and I know I've worked with the ICT document recently, and now I can see I saved it on my desktop, but I just want to double click that to have it open for me. And this is the document we worked with last time. If not, you can also, you know how we populated this document, you can just copy and paste stuff from the internet, of course, copyright restrictions apply, but just populate the content somehow. Can I continue?
Yes, sir.
All right, so on here, what we have, we just made use of the going back to the recent files just to find the documents that we want to work with. So if you remember Quick Access Toolbar, you can turn on autosave, which is linked to your OneDrive account, and then it will autosave for you. Or even you can customize this as well, the same way you did for Word. You've got a save button there that you can use to save things. And in here, I mean, I've got the layout on the left-hand side, shows the thumbnails, can also show the structure of the content and other things, so it can help me search through the document. So I've got sort of a search icon there to find and replace, but also at the top right corner, there is a search icon to find things in the document. So if I type for Word, for example, it can find all the Word things for me. If I let go in the same way I've been doing your attendance, I press Command F or Control F, you notice it takes me to the search icon and I can again type Word and it will still search for the keyword I am looking for me. So we do have various command groups, and in the command groups, we've got the test formatting command group. So we've got things like copy, paste, and you've got paste special, which we've made use of, cut, and also you've got the format painter, which we've made use of, making text bold, italics, or even canceling through text and other things, superscript, subscripts. One way of getting to that, as again, is also you right click, you may see format text, I see font, so you can right click and instead of format text, you can just click font and it'll give you some features. And again, you see subscript, superscript, double strike through, and changing text to small or caps. Let's change to all caps, for example. We can change Word to caps up by doing that. Again, I will undo by pressing Control Z, and you will see probably format text. I see font. I go back there and you can change the font size and other things. You can make use of some more advanced features if you want. And it's interesting that you can actually change language as well on there. Okay, happy for me to continue? Make sure you've been able to walk through it up to this point at least.
Sorry, sir, could you just repeat what you said?
Okay, so I'll pause it. So if I click font, it gives me more options and I can go to the font in there. I can change the font size here if I want to change to something that maybe I like to use or I'm more familiar with, but I'll probably keep what is there now. It's bold and italics. I can change the font size now, and I get a preview on the bottom there. I can also, it's also got the various things that we can make use of. You can change the color if you want. You can make it underline if you want. But what we have played with so far is something like having the superscript or changing it to subscript, which is at the bottom. We've already done superscript, so I'll change to subscript. You notice that it moved to the bottom. So it's just a matter of how you want the text to appear, or in terms of the font on there. Does that help explain things in a lot clearer way?
Yes, sir.
The question answered. Okay.
Yes.
Thanks. So we've got on the other side as well, something that we made use of in the other document, like left alignment, and people have shortcut for this. For some reason, not working for me, but I know Command E will center align it. And then of course, center alignment on there, and then right alignment. But as we did in class last time, I prefer to use justify. So you have like you have the text starting at the beginning of the margin, going all the way to the end of the margin. Happy to continue?
Yes, sir.
Right. So some people like to see things like formatting marks, or am I in a paragraph or not, and all those kind of things. And this icon will help you, because it tells you that, of course, you have a new paragraph here, end of line, and all those kind of things. I don't normally like it turned on because it can get in the way, the same way the dot was getting in the way of people when they were reading my document last time. If you do not see this, these things, you will see a small arrow just next to it. I've got a wider screen, your screen may be smaller. And when you click that drop down arrow, it will give you more options that for things that I see. Interestingly, you've got things like dictate button in there, and I'm sort of skipping a few things, but it has to do with some generic formatting things. I mean, if you want to include bullets and other things, I think the features is quite similar to what we've done for PowerPoint, so you can actually change stuff on there. But let me turn it off to bring it back. In terms of line spacing, someone was asking about double single line spacing. You can do your line spacing on here if you want. It doesn't look really good for me, so I'll just undo. If you want to fill in terms of shading or color shading and other things, those things, you can work with those stuff on there. Right, so back to things that I skipped to. I'm sorry. I got some free lunch delivered to me today. That's interesting, and I almost forgot about food. So bear with me as I save that. And it's interesting, I'm recording that. Right. So it's interesting that you can do things like dictating. You would need access to microphone. I don't know if that works. So can just try it out. Right, so let's see if I can try something to type something by just using my dictation. So it may not be accurate, but it seems that what it's typing so far works. Full stop. New line. So this is an interesting feature. I kind of like it. I think if you are in a class and you want to be taking notes, this is something that you can try. As you can see from the screen, it's quite close to capturing what I want it to do. Full stop. New paragraph. Yeah, and I mean, if you find this feature and you really slow at typing, or you really don't like typing like me, or you may find this as something that you may want to work with, especially if you attend a meeting or something and you need to be taking notes at the same time. So it doesn't necessarily have to be used only for lectures, but it looks like even when I speak really fast, it's still able to capture what I'm trying to say. All right. So you can tell I think that's an awesome feature. And from my perspective, let's see where we type from. Yeah, we managed to type all that, and you can tell from when I was using it that it's got some it understands commands. It understands things like I should have tried comma and punctuation. It did recognize when I said full stop. It did recognize when I said new paragraph. It did recognize when I said new line, which I think is pretty cool, isn't it? I don't know how you feel about that, but for me, that's pretty cool. And it can also be a good time saver. So again, I'll pause here if you want to try some things yourself. If you're not seeing the feature, that's something that we'll be working on in a few seconds as well. So I'll pause for a bit. When you're happy to continue, just let me know that you're happy to continue. Dictation pattern. That this was the very first time I was using dictation and in Word interface. It's pretty much like talking to Siri or Cortana or I don't know Alexa or anything, and it just mostly AI has been well developed to that point that it can sort of try to also predict what you're trying to say or correct itself as you speak. But anyway, I like that if you're doing a study, you want to collect interviews or something, you want to use it to transcribe. I'm not sure how accurate it is because we've not gone back to read through it, but anyway, it's pretty interesting. So again, you can go a bit more in terms of it's got some plugin into images and other things that can be used, or it can be create PDF and all that. So we've got this document with some text. We know that when we hover, especially if we go to a blank page and we hover our cursor, we can it changes to show the alignment, and we can pretty much double click anywhere to enter text. That's sort of what the key things we've covered so far. So what about how we view the document, right? At the moment, we notice this margin here. So if I double click, yes, I'm inserting a header. So I can say author, and I can maybe just put my signature on it or my name on it. So if I let go, you notice it appears on every single page because I've sort of created a header for myself. So it appears on every single page on that I have. So as soon as I have a new page, it will do the same as footer as well. So I can say something here. So it does that for the others as well. Of course, if you don't want it to appear throughout the others, you need to insert a page break, but that's something we can visit later on in a different session if there need be, or if people want, I can give further information on in terms of inserting page breaks and other stuff. So we want to see, we've got this margin on here that kind of dictates where the test starts from and where it ends for us. And from the margin, if you want to see where the margin starts and end, you can see this little ruler thing at the top there and also on the side there. It may or may not be appearing for you. If it is not appearing for you at the moment, don't worry about it. Just simply go to view, and then from the view, you see ruler there. So if I click it, you notice my ruler has disappeared. And if you check it, then of course the ruler comes back. You can adjust the ruler by just dragging it across, and then also it shows where all the text begins. So you kind of just play with it a little bit to adjust the text content as well in terms of where things appear on the ruler. People mostly use it for indentation as they type across, but the gray area show where the margin starts from and then where it ends as well. So you can see it vertically and horizontally. Again, if I go to new page, I get exactly the same on there. Right, so let's say I go to, I click home, and at the bottom right, I see things, different options with which I can read the document. So if I go to focus, it's sort of focused on the text for me. So if I want to read it, or it becomes a lot easier to read it or to use in a presentation, for example, I'll go back by pressing escape on a key button. Sorry, I'll press the escape key. It will bring me back here. Happy to continue?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Thanks for letting me know. So we've just tried the focus view, and currently we are in the print layout because it's sort of easy to see how the document really looks like when we print. Yeah, there is the web view and there are other view options. So if we saved as a web document, this is how the document will look like. But we can go back to the print view to see it in a way that we had it before. Other ways of getting to this view is also selecting view, and you see on the left-hand side, we currently in the print layout, there is the web layout option, which we have just selected. You may see one that says read up from your side, not necessarily an immersive reader. If you've updated to the most recent one, you will have an immersive reader as well. I mean, the outline shows the outline of your work. I've not included headers and other things, but let me close the outline as well for now. And we want to go back, and I want to go to the immersive reader. I want to try something from here. And to do that, I need to disconnect my audio source for you, my microphone source. So hopefully you'll be able to hear. Can you still hear me? Can you still hear me?
Yes, you can.
Yes. Hopefully you'll be able to hear my from my speakers when I use them. But let's try something. Let's try to enlarge the text. So I can press select the little plus thing at the bottom right to enlarge the text. You can do things like text spacing, text color, and other things just to, because it's for reading really, just to make things more suitable to your eye or how you want to read out things. Basically, it's just reader friendly. And of course, you can change column width on there as well to make it really nice and tidy and nice and soft. So from here, I want to try, we've done the dictation, which is voice input. I want to try voice output. And this is something that you can tell from last session when I talked to you about other learning resources. It's something I personally like, especially if I do not have time to read through the whole document or if I'm being pressed for time. And
try it out, right? So let's see if I can try something to type something by just using my dictation. So it may not be accurate, but it seems that's what it's typing so far works. So this is an interesting feature, kind of like it. I think if you are in a class and you want to be taking those, this is something that you can try. As you can see from this screen is quite close to capturing what I wanted to do. Yeah, I mean, if you find this featuring you really slow at typing, or you really don't like typing like me, or you may find some days or something that you may want to work with, especially if you attend a meeting or something and you need to be taking notes at the same time, so it doesn't necessarily have to be used only for lectures, but looks like even when I speak really fast, it's able to capture what I'm trying to say. As an account,
I like that, and I like it. I'll just
try it out.
I'll just click the back. Let me take it forward to where we wanted to read. I like that because it's sort of reading back to what we typed into it. And you notice you can adjust the speed, you can change who is talking. And actually, if it doesn't give you more options here, you can go to your main system settings and you can select different voice inputs that you can add. And I'm sure sometimes, or even on Word from Word, you can download new voices to incorporate into yours. So I want to increase the speed to try.
I'm sorry, sir. How did you locate the immersive reader? Because
Sorry?
I can't find it. The immersive reader.
The immersive reader. Do you have read options? If you go to view, let me close this. So if you go to view, you may see on here or there, you'll see reader view or read option. Do you see that? I have immersive reader because I'm using the latest version.
Yes.
So select the reader view or the read view, and I clicked on the immersive reader. If you look around there and you have immersive reader, that'll be great. If not, the other things that we'll do, and it will take us back to a similar point. Yeah?
Yeah, I got it.
Great. So I'm going to put my cursor around this point, and we wanted to read aloud.
So this is an interesting feature, kind of like it. I think if you are in a class and you want to be taking those, this is something that you can try. As you can see from this screen, is quite close to capturing what I wanted to do. Yeah, I mean, if you find this feature really slow as typing, or you really don't like typing like me, or you may find some days or something that you may want to work with, especially if you attend a meeting or something, and you need to be taking notes at the same time, so it doesn't necessarily have to be used only for lectures, but looks like even when I speak.
yeah, pretty much you can adjust the speed to suit you. And of course, if you need to change the voice, you can look into changing the voice to suit you. So you get your own style and of catching up. So I think I quite like these two features. The fact that you can speak. Imagine if you are cooking, right? Unless you are cooking in a very noisy environment, right? You can literally be typing whilst cooking by putting it in dictation mode. And let's say if you're on a train, for example, and you just want to listen to some documents, you can basically just use it to read. And from what we have done, you can jump between paragraphs, you can go back to listen to them. And I know sometimes when you listen, you can actually drift away a little bit, but you don't necessarily have to worry about losing a lot of text, because you can just jump to them, or you can select where you want to read from and you read from there. So I'm just going to close it for now. So if I go to review, I know we jump in menus, but it sort of links closely to what I just did. So if I click review, you see the read aloud icon there. In my case, I can just select.
So this is an interesting feature.
Exactly the same feature.
Kind of like it. I think if you are in a class and you want to be taking those, this is something that you can try. As you can see from this screen, is quite close to capturing what I wanted to do. Yeah, I mean, if you find this feature and you're really slow at typing, or you really don't like typing like me, or you may find some days or something that you may want to work with, especially if you attend a meeting or something and you need to be taking notes at the same time, so it doesn't necessarily have to be used only for lectures, but looks like even when I speak really fast, it's still able to capture what I'm trying to say.
Okay. Did it work for most of us?
Hello, sir.
I should probably be recording the answers to the questions as well as they come up. But anyway, so we've tried the different views, and we're saying that mostly we're working with the print view because it's a view that really makes it easy for us to see exactly what
Hello, sir.
is going to look like.
Hello,
Yes,
sir.
please ask your question.
Right. So it's about the document itself. The read out loud does not only apply to the bits that I dictated, the read out loud applies to the whole document. So let's say if I select this line, for example, or you can highlight. If I select this line, for example, and I click read out loud, it will start reading from there. Now you can tell I'm using my headphones, so you may not hear. Did you hear the reading? Was that yes or no?
No.
Okay, but you can see it highlighted as it goes, which means it's making noise in my ear only. But pretty much you can select anywhere for it to read. So as far as that question is concerned, hopefully whoever asks that answers your question. You can just get it to read anywhere from your document. It's just that I have dictated something added to a document you already had, and I wanted to take advantage to read it back to us so we saw how accurate it was, because previously we made use of the dictate option there. So we're looking at the rule in terms of margins and other things. There is this interesting thing there. I really like it. It's a tell me feature, right? And I've discovered it recently as well. I kind of like it a lot, because if you click the tell me feature, for example, you see what I've recently searched for. So if you don't know where to find the margins, for example, and you type margins, in your case, it may appear as if it's a search space on just somewhere by the menu or on top of the menu. So if you search for margins, it gives you access to the tool. You notice that this is slightly different from the search feature we've got there, or when you press Control F. Control F or that search feature help you to search the document, the current document, in terms of the text on the document. But it kind of tells you where the tool is or what tool you want to use. So let's say if I want to insert charts, for example, I can go into charts, and what I did before was to go for maps. So I can insert a map on there as well, and then it will sort of give me generating a map chart for me. So in this case, I don't have any data generated, so I'm just not going to merge it anyway, but it's going to make use of that data. It popped up. Maybe we want to keep it. Maybe we don't want to keep it. Shall we decide what to do? Shall we keep it? Let's keep it in the work. We can keep it in the work. So I'll press Control S to save it. Let's say I want to find out where the margins are. Again, I go to Tell Me and I search for margins. Then it gives me more options which I can use to change the margins or save the margins from. So we can go through things like wide margin, narrow margin. We can change the narrow margin. You notice that the whole document has changed its layout, but I really want to keep what I had before. So I just go Control Z to bring it back up. Are you happy for me to continue?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. So that sort of shows you where the Tell Me feature is. You can search for a lot more things over there. Now it comes to some few things like when you are selecting tests. So far, we've just been doing, you click at the back of the test, you drag, or you click in front of the test, you drag a whole paragraph, or you can just click in front of the test, you hold down the Shift and you press the back arrow key, or you press the Command button. It takes all the way to the end or to the front, depending on whether you are pressing back or forth and those things. If you want to select a single test, you just select, click behind it, and then you hold down the command and maybe Control or Alt in your case. In my case, it will be Option, and you press the left key, then you just select one word and other thing. So what are the other options that we have as far as selecting test is concerned? If you are using a mouse pointer, you can click once and it will take you to insert into a test area that you can type something. So I want to press undo here because I want to select this particular test, comfort, right? So to select that test, I just double click on the test. So I double click and comfort is selected for me. If I want to select lunch, I double click lunch and it selects lunch for me. If I want to select touring, I double click touring, double click touring and it selects touring for me. If I double click perhaps, it selects perhaps for me. Are you happy for me to continue?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
All right, so that takes care of double clicking to select a word, for example. What if I want to select the whole paragraph? If I want to select the whole paragraph, I click 3 times. So I'll go 1, 2, 3, and it selects the whole sentence for me or the whole paragraph that you can identify. If I go a different area and I try again, 1, 2, 3, and it selects for me. I go to a different area, 1, 2, 3, and it selects the whole paragraph for me. Work for you, happy for me to continue.
Yes, sir.
Right, again, if I move my cursor all the way to move my cursor all the way to the left, I click there once, it selects the whole line for me. If I move all the way to the right, it doesn't do that. But if I go back to the left, click once, selects the whole line for me. Happy to continue?
Yes, sir.
You can see the cursor change when you move to the left. Now, I want to double click in the left to see what happens. We've talked about single word selection, double click. Paragraph selection, triple click. Line selection, click once in the left-hand side. If you double click, it selects the whole paragraph for you. Let me go to another paragraph, just double click on the left. Let me try something else on a different paragraph. Double click on the left as well, it selects the whole paragraph for me again. Did it work for you? I'll record. These are the key features I wanted to cover today. So it's just quick editing tools and then quick selection tools, the layouts, how the tests look like and other things. Familiarizing yourself with the menus doing some dictations, just some slides of the added features and things that we already know. We've done things like headers, footers, and all those kind of things using the Tell Me feature as well. We've made use of the search function on there as well. We've done Control F. We've introduced a lot of keyboard shortcuts. We've done triple clicking to select 1, 2, 3, to select a whole paragraph. We've also selected a line by using the margin side of things as well. And of course, if you want to save files and retrieve files, we've covered almost all the basics again up to this point. These are the key things I really wanted to cover today. So I'll stop the recording here.